Well, good morning, everybody. Everything decided to update all at once. I went to open Twitch, it's updating. I opened OBS, it's updating. So here we are. Good morning. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. And well, right now we're live here on YouTube, and Twitch is barely twitching. Some news, some exciting news today. I'm in the not that I'm special. I'm in the Neptune Discord, and the app launches July 31st. So, hey, I think that's a pretty significant announcement. For those of you that have been following along with the show, I have beef with social media by and large, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, to the degree that not using these fucking apps is fine with me, okay? But more so because those are our oppressors. So if you could please stop using Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter, get off of Amazon too and shop local. That'd be great. Build a community. Get to know everyone around you. You need to know if the man or woman or they them to the right and your left are the kind of person that'd call ICE or the police on you. Waiting. Okay, TikTok, get your shit together. Or Twitch, sorry. Twitch. Jesus. So can it just not update? Jeez. Well, I guess we'll just be live here on YouTube. But yeah, I woke up this morning thinking about how little time I spent in the education system extolling the virtues of unions. Trying to think about when was the smart study of unions. Why weren't my. Here's a fun one. Why weren't my teachers more pro union? Is it because the teachers' union failed? Not necessarily failed. I think we got to put Donald Trump in the way of a lot of failure. We put him at the head of a lot of that. So keep that in mind, by the way. But I woke up thinking about like, aren't isn't pretty much everyone a socialist, right? Like once you have it explained to you, like, hey, do you naturally not dislike everyone that you meet, right? Do you see people that are like people of color or women or the LGBTQIA plus community, do you see them as equals or like somehow lesser than you? Okay, so if it's lesser than you, that means you're a bigot and like no. But if you're like not a bigot, you believe that equality is equal measures good, right? Um, Equal opportunity is good. I got to thinking about in a workplace, if not for a union or the possibility to socialize, either because of what you make, like the money you make at the job, or who else is there, right? The people, right? So if not for social purposes, what is the point of a job? Now, a lot of people say, well, I have a specific job that I have an education in and I just do that job all day. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Do you feel like your pay has been unaffected by capitalism? And what if I told you that you are being criminally underpaid? Okay. So if you agree that you are probably being criminally underpaid, then you know that you don't have the ability to negotiate that, right? Everybody, I don't have the ability to negotiate my pay. If I have an issue with my pay, my options are get another fucking job or blank. Because I know for almost a fact everyone that you know when they have acknowledged, being underpaid and they've tried to go get pay commensurate with time and grade, talent, etc., they get walked out the door. So, if not for unions, then what is even the point of a job if you can't uh, collectively bargain for better pay and benefits? And most people will tell you that they fart around until they get a union job, and then they just do that. Why? Well, because I consistently get pay raises, and I have health care and benefits that I feel are equitable for me. And I wouldn't have those things if it weren't for a union, right? And I can't necessarily say that the things that I have are necessarily because of a union, right? But I can promise you that the VFW and the American Legion and the UAV, right? Is that what that's called? Anyway, DAV, Department DAV, yeah. So all those social organizations bent on collective bargaining on behalf of X being veterans, teachers, firefighters, police, like whatever. I could tell you any. I can't speak for necessarily firefighters because I don't know that many other than Bob. But like my whole family is law enforcement and union first. Right. By the way, the kind of people that hopefully the kind of people that didn't vote for Donald Trump, because they were good union people. You hope. Yeah, I woke up thinking about that today. One of the things I saw when I first woke up this morning and looked at the internet was, and I'm wondering if anybody can verify this. From what I understand, no journalists ever interviewed Ivanka about Epstein. And I asked my wife yesterday what was the show about yesterday, and I said Donald Trump and both his wife and ex-wife and their kids sex trafficked minors, all of them. And my wife was like, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "Yeah, isn't that crazy?" The president of the United States sex trafficked minors and used his wife, used his kids, used his best friend to sex traffic minors for the better part of 2 decades. That's why Donald Trump wants to keep it out of the public eye. Everybody thinks it's like it's some other shit, and it's like, no, dude. Think about what the president of the United States is, the major financier. What do I need to do? Like shut my phone off or something? Anyway, we would be live on Twitch, but it's tweaking out. So I know. I just want to sit in it for a moment. I was telling my wife because she doesn't watch the show. She's at work, right? And she's not gonna watch like a 90-minute show when she gets off work of her husband fucking talking when I'm talking to her. You know what I mean? So yeah, she was kind of asking me about yesterday's show, and I said, you know, I think the country's slowly coming around on the fact that the president of the United States. Because here's what you learn. Here's what you learn about it. Jeffrey Epstein conducted more than 4,700 transactions. Okay, as a known sex trafficker. Donald Trump has more than 4,200 of those. So the good thing is, you know who the majority problem is. The majority financier of Epstein Island by transaction number. Almost overwhelmingly was the number one contributor. That's about the only thing Donald Trump's ever come out on top of. Is being the number one sex trafficker ever. I'm willing to bet you. Over 4,000 transactions over almost 2 decades. And think about it. Bill Clinton got a massage from one of the girls. And there's a reason people are up in fucking arms about it. Because Bill Gates is in some of them pictures too. And I ain't saying that they did anything. I'm just saying there's a reason it's a slow rollout from the media. It's given a lot of people a lot of time to come to God and go to their families and say, hey, it's one thing, President of the United States. It's a whole nother thing. Okay? Okay, maybe not. Let's go ahead and close out. Twitch off to a rough start today. Wow, Twitch is off to a real rough start today. Okay. All right. So we are live here on Twitch and YouTube. Uh, Twitch shit the bed this morning. Great job, everybody over there. On that, manage your channel directly from your phone. No, I think I won't. Oh, somebody said it's not built for vertical. You gotta flip it sideways, otherwise, like, people won't watch you. Somebody told me yesterday. I was like, oh, okay. That's wild. Okay. So remember, he said you'll have a great time on Twitch. Yeah, I'm just dumb and didn't realize that I could just can you get the chat up? Oh, you have the option to hide it if I wanted, so there just isn't any. Yeah, I could have just been live there. But yeah, every morning when we get together, you know how it is. We start Edwin Starr's War. sure we throw a link to that in the chat. So if you want to, you'll listen to that. To the news. And by the way, if you want to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/likelyalien, to the surprise of no one, to be the next Hasanabe. Peace to Hassan, man. Um, a lot of who Hassan is, I identify with, like being an athlete, loving basketball, right? And the thing about Hassan is that I don't think he can run for political office. Otherwise, he should have already used his platform to do that. And I think he's talked about that before, where his whole goal is to give the right people a platform. Hmm. So I'll game some on Twitch. Hmm. While we're kind of shitting on Donald Trump, which we should be doing all the time, and while we should be consistently talking about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein up to and including, yeah, you just ask the question, you don't have to set it up. Um, Donald Trump at this point is saying his name may have been planted in the Epstein files. And again, I want to iterate that, in February, Pam Bondi said that the Epstein files were on her desk. And about a month ago, Donald Trump said that they didn't exist. And then a couple weeks ago, he said that basically all of the Democrats for the last like 30 years made the list up themselves, and specifically named Obama and the Clintons and Biden as authors of the Epstein list. And then after that, has said, you trim your mustache and beard. Yeah, so you got to keep the hair from curling up into your lip, right? By washing your fucking face. And then you got to trim your mustache so it doesn't hang over your lip. Somebody asked me, how do I kiss my wife with a beard? And I said, you trim your shit. Hmm. And yes, I know that it exists, and I don't focus on like shaving all the time. This isn't a beauty pageant. Good to go. So, at this point, Donald Trump is saying that his name may have been planted in the Epstein files. And so that's where we are. But what is problematic for people like Donald Trump is people like Joe Rogan are not letting it go. Okay? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I would be growing a beard. All right. Here's an interesting story. Norm Eisen, the former White House ethics chief, has filed a wide ranging Freedom of Information Act request. So now the former ethics chief in the United States has filed a FOIA. Here's a story from People where Donald Trump said he never had the privilege to go to Epstein's Island. I want to continue to iterate that the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is the majority financier of Epstein Island and went there many, many times. And there were thousands of transactions between he and Jeffrey Epstein, over 4,200. Jeffrey Epstein conducted 4,700 total transactions. That means Donald J. Trump's the better part of like 90 plus percent of all of the transactions that Jeffrey Epstein ever made. He is he is the money. That's where all his money went. So if you wondered what he did with all that money he grifted, he paid Jeffrey Epstein so that he could fuck children. That's what that's why he's broke. That and he took dark money from Russia. Hmm? And owes them money too. That's why they're all over Mar-a-Lago now. Is because they got to keep him in line. He owes them money, and they got to keep him alive too. Russia depends on it. Blah. When the worst person you know hates what you do, Trump privately losing it as Epstein scandal fractures his MAGA base. Those close to the president say he is enraged that the story has continued for this long. Donald Trump fucks children because he has a small penis. It's just true. You don't like have to like it or anything. Here's where Ghislaine Maxwell files a Supreme Court brief appealing the Epstein conviction. Overturn her convictions on the grounds she was unlawfully prosecuted for sex trafficking minors with Jeffrey Epstein. Check this shit out. Renaming the Kennedy Center for Donald and Melania Trump would violate the law that created it. MAGA Superintendent Ryan Walters was watching porn during an official meeting. Raise your hand if you have not thought about pulling up porn on the job, on the clock, using company equipment, or not, in public, behind closed doors in a meeting. Like, what kind of loose cannon does shit like that? Real talk. Gabby, he paid them all off. I mean, he has spent millions and millions of dollars to pay off all of his victims. None of his victims have said, "Fuck you, Don. I'm not settling. You can't pay me off." And when he does get penalized, Eugene Carroll, sorry, he knows how to work the appeal system, so he's just appealing it out until she dies, and he'll never pay her 5 mil. That's his thing. He's a absolutely terrible human being. I think that he hated his mother. I think that's Donald Trump's problem. And so as a result of he can't stand his own mother, uh, he hates women. Hmm. And obviously didn't have strong male father figures, and didn't have a good relationship with his old man, and didn't have friends as a young man, and didn't have friends in college and shit. Yeah. His dad was wealthy and worked and wasn't around like most of our dads, right? Like my dad never worked a shift that mirrored school, and like until I was in like high school, and then he was going to work as going to work as I'm going to school. Otherwise he was working like the mid, like a 9 to 5er, or like or second full blown second shift, like a 12 to 8 or 12 to 9 or whatever. So Donald Trump is what happens when you have two parents and no one's home. Donald Trump was the kind of kid that got left alone with a bunch of people who are in charge of you, who are probably people of color, Latino. These are your gardeners and your cooks and your servers and shit in a rich household, right? And they're now charged with sort of managing this little young tyrant, right? I mean, not a great story, but it's just true. He picked up his hatred as a result of the probably, I'm guessing, the very first women that weren't his mother, people of color, were the people tasked with managing him as a person and tending to him, and also probably had a job, right? So they're probably on edge because they're being overworked. So that's who Donald Trump grew up around. Not good people. His parents were not good people. I mean, let's just say that. So he has disdain for both the mother and the father figure. And then he grows up with unfettered hatred for women and people of color. And as he gets older, that's the LGBTQIA plus, and now he's fixated on trans people. And I think it's because he's hypersexual, and he's hypersexualized because of the lack of control demonstrated by his parents as a child. And so now, as a demented old man, you see all of the hate that he's had in his heart his whole life. By the way, I want to make sure we continue to say, like, this is who Donald Trump is. You notice that he doesn't have any animals, no dogs or cats. That's because he would have fondled them and then killed them some violent way. Hmm. That's because that's the kind of person that Donald Trump is. Hmm. So what happens when you grow up and you hate your mom and your dad, and then you don't have good relationships with anyone, and you don't have friendships with anyone? And I'm willing to bet it's because Donald Trump probably sexually assaulted someone as a small child. And it probably started late enough, and he was young enough that the first couple times can't really go to jail for that. And then he just kept getting away with it, and his family has money, so they could just pay off the victims. Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. Anybody that hunts for sport, it's just, why don't you staple it to the ground and then shoot it? Why don't you just pin it to the ground? You know what I mean? Not real big on that shit. My family grew up hunting, and it was mostly because we had to throw a bunch of meat away because it got like frostburn, and we had to replace that for fear that you know. So I'll right up there with Donald Trump doing fuck shit, right? Jesus, look at him circling, just fucking the weave, man. Trump calls it a privilege to visit Epstein Island. What? So now it's a privilege. Says he turned down a trip to notorious Epstein Island where abuse happened. One of my very good moments. I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Like, what the fuck one time? One time you didn't go? But all the other times you went? Yeah. They're all fucking absolutely batshit crazy. You saw Donald Trump filed lawsuits against ICE protesters and lost, by the way, because the ICE agents lied. And I want to continue to point out that ICE do not have real bullets in their guns, are using what are called administrative warrants. So they don't have judicial warrants signed by a judge who said, yeah, go take this person down with fire and thunder, right? Um, and also, they're not veterans. They're not Leos, law enforcement officers. They're frequently associated with the Proud Boys and the KKK and other extremist groups. And also, they're on drugs, meth specifically. Yeah, that's ICE. Mm-hmm. It's shock troopers, like the Nazis had. Mm-hmm. President Ocasio Cortez isn't as far. What I see here? I think it was in Missouri, Zeke. A group of whites trying to make their own white only town. Why is the name on the flight logs, right? But yeah, I think the reason Eric and Donald's other kids haven't spoken a lot, they're not like fixtures, is because they were part of it. And I want to continue to say, with my whole chest, the Trump family, this iteration of the Trump family, is the major financier of the largest trafficking ring known to man. Over 4,200 transactions, flight logs, visitor logs, parties held. Lots of neighborhoods are white only and they don't put a sign up. So, one of the things I picked up in comedy is when somebody is going to be abjectly racist, let them. Put that sign up. Now you know who not to hire and fuck with. So, don't hire them, don't help them. Hmm. Yep. Consequences of your actions. Hmm. Yep. I want to make sure we use our platform to say, hey, free Palestine, Slava Ukraine. I know that if you're looking at the United States from the outside in, it looks an awful lot like we're pro Russia and pro Israel, and I can assure you we are not. I know one person who has decided they are Team Trump all the way, and that includes being pro Russia and pro Israel. And that person is the loneliest person I've ever met in my life. Mhm. And shall remain that way. Hmm. Shall continue to complain about dying alone. Hmm. RTTL. When he still does it now, just slip the diaper off first. Y'all make me sick to my stomach. A Google engineer died in Yosemite after being struck by a falling tree branch. Angela Lynn was doing something she loves the most. Now, either this is an unimaginable tragedy. Hmm. Hmm. Again, it's still under investigation. Return to the land. No. Here's Pete Buttigieg talking about Democrats must reinvent the government after Donald Trump. Here's Donald Trump was announcing that deal with the EU. I just want to point out Donald Trump. Hey, Bob. Uh, Donald Trump in two trade deals has promised 145% of our exports. So get to work, everybody. The president is over promising by almost half. So, job, everybody. So one of the things that Donald Trump is having a problem with is typically what he does is use distraction. Hey Val, as a weapon. And what John Oliver is pointing out is that when it comes to the fact that Donald Trump and his family were the major financiers of a large sex trafficking ring involving Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and both of Donald Trump's wives, so his current spouse and his dead wife, and then also his children. The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, used his own kids to traffic women, young, well, let's just call them what they are, children. Just going to continue to point that out. That when we talk about the Epstein files switch up, we are still talking about the President of the United States being a pedophile. hmm The whole thing is a fake. Democrats put things in the files, by the way. And again, we want to point out that Donald Trump is giving different answers than his own White House. Ivana was killed because she knew or was going to talk. Nancy Mace is a sick fuck. Nancy Mace sits around and watches videos of ICE arrests. Trump says he cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein because he stole people who worked for me. Hey, here's some good news for you on a Tuesday. Kilmar Abrego Garcia will be released and will be able to be back with his family in Maryland with his wife and his children within 30 days of July 23rd. So, Kilmar Abrego Garcia ordered to be released. Mm-mm. What's important? The President of the United States is wearing makeup on his hand, and his ankles are swollen up like a motherfucker still. Victims were returned back home to Venezuela. Probably paid off big. I know Tifley don't talk to him, stays far away. Yeah. By the way, Donald Trump is taking a golf vacation, by the way, in Scotland. That's very costly to Americans. Hmm. Hmm. Zoran Mamdani is a superstar. Good for him. Guy, hey, my parents let me fall on my face when I was a kid, and took the time to educate me about uh, lying, and about how, Jared, don't get into the habit of lying, because you're going to tell someone a lie, and then you're going to have to lie to cover that up. And then you're going to get caught, and you're going to have to lie to cover up the cover up. And then you're going to get caught, and you're going to have to continue lying. And the only way you're going to feel like you're able to move forward in life is to continue to get away with the lie. One day, you're just going to have to admit that it was all a lie. Now, what's crazy about that conversation that I had with my old man as a child is that he was cheating on my mom the whole time. So what he was doing was he was explaining to me how guilty he was fucking feeling about his infidelity. And what he was telling me is that you can't ever lie to begin with, because then it's just going to escalate, and you're just going to have to keep lying to cover it up, and you're going to get caught, and what will the ramifications be? And you know what? It's crazy. My mom caught my old man cheating. This is moons ago. And you know what she told me one day? I told him, water under the fucking bridge. We're married and we have kids and a whole life. You're an idiot. Let's go to couples therapy. And my dad was like, I've already been going to therapy. Like when my parents got a divorce, it was entirely my old man. My mom was like, we've been together for 27 years. I don't care. Like, what the fuck? And I agree. Anytime I've ever lied about anything, the worst part about it is being accountable for lying. The worst part of it, because there's repercussions. There's accountability. You know, there are some people that are so unaccountable that the thought of having to fess up to a lie or something is beyond what they're capable of doing. Hmm. One of the things that people are pointing out is how unorthodox the Justice Department's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell is. how unusual it is. One of the things I found unusual was her carrying a box of stuff back into fucking jail. It's like, what? And one of the things that I don't think Donald Trump understands is like when you go to sue someone, like let's say he wants to sue someone for calling him a pedo, he has to prove he's not. And all that someone claiming he's a pedo has to do is point to all of the publicly available information that suggests you're a pedo and just say, here's the thing, Don. The problem is that you used your kids, your wives, your best friend. And by the way, notice how he's a fucking backstabber? He knows no loyalty, and that's because he hated his parents. And he probably essayed someone as a young person, and so he didn't have friends. And even when he went to college, he wasn't popular and he wasn't a good student either. And the thing about it is, think about a reason why someone would not be popular in college. And I'm saying this as someone who was popular in college. Okay. Oh, and I can also speak to the potential of me lying completely destroyed a friendship in college. Um, Long story short, I rushed Sig Nu, and a guy that was in my class was in the class behind me in high school at my high school. Now, what had happened was is when I was a senior in high school at prom, a kid uh, rented a candy apple green Mustang Celine, and we got pulled over for drag racing on the way back from downtown Indianapolis from our prom to go to post prom. I did. I got pulled over. I had a 1988 Mustang GT50, debadged, tinted windows, navy blue with metallic flake. It's a fucking sick car. Just total sleep. I'd thrash everybody because I actually grew up drag racing. anyway, so we got pulled over and let go. That's the story. Because the guy that pulled me over was my seventh grade football coach. That really happened, yes. 100%. But when alcohol is involved, and all of a sudden the guy that I've been living with and partying with for 2 years asks the guy I went to high school with if I had a lime green Mustang Celine when I was in high school, and he says no, he didn't. Now I'm a liar. And that lie destroyed a friend and I's relationship. I didn't tell a lie. The potential for a lie cost relationships. Mhm. It's not that I actually lied. It's the potential that I lied, and that we were roommates. Mhm. And I was just like that. I didn't lie to you, like whatever, and we were still like friends after that. But mhm. People will forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. That's what I've learned. If someone feels like they can't trust you, that's just the real world. You learn, you live, and you learn. Right? Fortunately for me, what ended up happening, because I know people like, wait a minute, you're in a fraternity? Uh, so what happened was, made it all the way to the end, and then part of the stipulation was if you're gonna stick around for the summer, you're gonna have to pay $2,500 for 90 days to not live in the house and not have access to the house. If you were going to go home, like back to where you're from, you didn't have to pay it. But if you're going to stick around, you got to pay dues. And I objected. I said, I'm not paying $2,500 for the summer. And I got an apartment uh, right in the heart of West Lafayette. Oh, it was awesome. My next door neighbor was Kyle Orton. It was awesome. It was awesome. Hmm. He pet my dog. Hmm. Live and learn. Sonic song. So again, Zeke, This isn't me being like I lied and I was a piece of shit and I got caught. That's not the story. Nope. I've definitely done that too. I potentially lied, and it cost me a close friend. Hmm. Someone, not I don't think about Pushkar often, but I think about what might have been. Like we have been better friend, lifelong friends. Had a lot in common. So think about how I feel having actually lied. I have absolutely lied for a myriad of reasons. It's a learned skill. Hmm. Not necessarily to you, but period. And there have been consequences even when I didn't lie. So I'm not making myself a victim. I'm just saying like, hey, think about that. Like I have suffered consequences for lying even when I actually didn't tell a lie. And this motherfucker literally is the majority financier of a $1 billion sex trafficking ring with Jeffrey Epstein and lies about it. And he got all the way to president, by the way. Isn't that fucking insane? And to think about it, billionaires basically have to lie and sacrifice relationships and keep stepping on people in order to become billionaires. Twice, Crystal said. Yeah, that motherfucker became president twice. I'm still thinking about what my life would have been like if that wouldn't have happened. Not because I did something wrong. And I want to point out that we said a long time ago Donald Trump is intimidated by intelligent women. And that's who Donald Trump thinks are his enemies. So, one of the things to not look away from is the fact that Donald Trump has talked about prosecuting Kamala Harris, Beyonce, Oprah. Um, I mean, yes, He did say that Comey and Ray set him up, and he did talk about Obama and Clinton and Biden. He did try to put the blame on them too. Right. Al asked the question of the day. What is Donald Trump's excuse to pardon Maxwell? Well, I mean, think about this. If his line of thought is that the Epstein files are made up, then why the fuck is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? There's a lot of evidence. There's significant amount of evidence does no longer exist. What the fuck is she doing in prison then? If there was no sex trafficking ring, what the fuck is Ghislaine Maxwell doing in prison? There was a sex trafficking ring, by the way. This isn't me hopping off the boat. Okay. I'm always freaking out because I'm thinking somebody's going to drop in as I say something that's completely off canter. And I mean, hopefully you assimilate. Like, hopefully you just listen to the rest of what I said and you're like, well, that's a weird moment. That's the only thing I can think that the reason that you would pardon Ghislaine Maxwell is to say the Epstein list is fake. That shit didn't isn't real. That didn't happen. She has to be released. If she's not released, why is she in there then? Oh, it's because she's a woman. Deb said, imagine how peaceful it would be if Kamala was president right now. So here's the thing. If Kamala was president, you'd be getting your ass kicked. You would have a woman standing in front of a microphone talking about the storms that are coming. She'd be talking about empowering FEMA. She'd be talking about the delivery of emergency funds and emergency food and helping people restore power in their communities, right? And coordinating logistics and helping with transportation and trying to tell people what you got to be able to do within the next 2 to 4 years. What we have to be able to do is produce our own power. So you're going to have to figure out solar power because we have a big electric grid in the United States and there are only 9 total substations. So 9 big ass boxes, big metal boxes that controls our electricity in the United States. And one of those burnt down in Texas. And it only takes 2, 3 of those substations to go down to take down the whole grid. And for the record, it's not like I'm singing to into the void. Hey, California's had brownouts and blackouts my whole life. Texas is having blackouts and brownouts. They've had them my whole life. Hey, it was 122 fucking degrees in Arizona. I watched a video the other day when I woke up of shit melting in Arizona. The roads, people's cars, tires sticking to the fucking road and shit and melting off of people's cars. Yeah, he said he didn't have the privilege to go to the island. What a sick fuck, man. Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, had raped children to satisfy his sexual urges because he has a little dick. So, what I try to do every day is get on here and say, hey, what you can't continue to do is to give your life to your oppressors. The number one thing that cannot continue to happen is you can't use Facebook and Threads and IG and WhatsApp and Twitter. You cannot make your life, you can't share your life with people who will take it from you. And then it comes down to shopping, what you do with your money. And you got to get away from Amazon. Jeff Bezos, you got to take dollars out of his pocket and you got to put it in local business where you live. If there's not good local businesses for you to support where you live, come be my neighbor. Come be my neighbor. There's a bunch of businesses around here to support that are local. Okay? But the thing that I want to make sure that we point out about Donald Trump is not only that he has a little penis, but also one of the things that has repeatedly come up over time, okay? What's repeatedly come up over time is that Donald Trump has syphilis. Is that what it is? He has like the kind of STD that causes dementia. So it's like we know why and how Donald J. Trump is has dementia. He got dementia because he had syphilis his whole fucking life. So one of the problems, her pardon will be a full admission of his taco pita behavior. Yeah. Fucking asshole in your face. Yeah. Hey, I mean, if you think about what we're talking about, it's hard. It's hard to talk about this shit. Period. But again, it's just the truth. All of this is a cover up for the fact that Donald Trump has a little penis. He has a little dick. He hated his parents. He had no friends growing up, no one to hold him accountable except clearly people of color, women. And then as he got older, think about who's starting to get those opportunities in showbiz, in yeah, pretty much in showbiz. Gay people, the LGBTQIA plus community. So as this idiot has aged, you know what I mean? He got a new group of people to hate. He picked up on hating fucking gay people, right? And now he's focused because he's in office, writing legislation about trans people. I think it speaks to the power of trans people. Trans people fucking motivate the shit out of me because one of the things that you have to know if you're trans is you can no longer give the fuck about what the world has to say about you, and you just have to live unabashedly because either way you fucking go. Either you are unequivocally yourself or you're gonna have to fucking hide the shit. So, if anybody wondered what I admire about trans people, is that you have to decide, and you have to live loudly. He said taco. Now I want tacos. It is Taco Tuesday. I'm having. Well, I'll eat a factor meal today. And then what we do is we order from the. I've told y'all about this place. If you decide fuck all this bullshit climate change based weather and you need a place to move, come live by me so that you can enjoy. I'm gonna have a Philly. Hold on. I gotta sell it to you, so I gotta make sure I say it right. Philly. What is that fucking thing called? Quesadilla. I am gonna have a Philly quesadilla for dinner today. So, which is, which is basically a taco. Oh. Andy's gay. Yes, Debs. Thanks for the reminder. And he's also gay. So he is just a big bag of emotions, and it's never been cool for men to be a big bag of emotions. And so he chose to be a bag of shit instead. You're welcome. It is National Chicken Wing Day. So we don't eat enough chicken wings in my house because my wife is disgusted by chicken meat in proximity to a bone, specifically when it comes to like veins and tendons and shit. She's like every time we eat chicken wings, I become more vegetarian. So Bob said, do they have gluten, dairy, and sugar-free food? Oh, you mean like the bar around the corner? Gabby said he'd stick his little mushroom in anyone and anything, apparently, even against its will. Yeah. Oh, here's the thing no one saw coming. Donald Trump wanted to fuck everybody. That's that's what it really was. That's why he became president. He got tired of like he got bored with his wife, his own kids, other people's kids, fucking other men's wives, and he was like, "I just want to fuck the world." And so here we are. Zeke said, "I'm a carnivore roar." I just know this. I have gone vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for like 8 months. I lost a lot of weight. At that time, I was in the gym a lot, on the treadmill a lot. Eating veggies is good fuel. The problem is that I was constantly fucking hungry. I was starving. Um, and what happened was is it made meat taste so much better that when I ultimately went back to eating Culver's, it was just like, what the like I'm actually happier with this fucking burger in my belly. You know what I mean? So, mushrooms wild, pun intended. Yeah, Albie, we were talking about him cheating at golf earlier. Be a horror movie script. They're so bad at hiding it. Yeah. In case you missed it, Donald Trump is taking a $10 million golf vacation to Scotland, where his handlers got off the golf cart and kicked the golf ball to a better lie for the President of the United States. So, again, as a kid who grew up on a golf course, I grew up on a driving range, I grew up on a golf course. My family drag raced and golfed on the weekends. Okay? I have golfed all over the United States, including Hawaii. Okay? My old man will tell you it is not golf if you are in a golf cart. Finn. It doesn't matter where you go, except there is a golf course, Maggie Valley in North Carolina. You have to you have to use a golf cart to actually traverse the course, and it would be impossible to walk that. Um, and there have been a couple others that are so spread out that it would probably be better if you just drove it instead of like in a car, uh, not a fucking golf cart. But yeah, I want to point this out. I'm going to continue to say it. Real golfers walk, and I'm not a golfer. So that's the number one thing that I noticed about this president. How the fuck could you be a golfer and support Donald Trump? He's not even a fucking golfer. And the worst part about it is he doesn't cheat every now and then. He cheats all the fucking time. Like, cheating for him is how you get through the round. You know what my dad used to do? Let me tell you a story about my old man. So my dad, first of all, he would never let me tee off first. No, you're gonna go last. And so he would get up there and tee off, my brother would get there up there and tee off, and then I would go to tee off. And my dad would spend a ton of time trying to get me to do it right, and I would probably duff the first one because what I always tended to do was hover over the ball, which you're not supposed to do, and then stand straight up when I'm trying to make contact with the ball. And when you do that, you're going to top the ball, and then the ball is just not going to go very far. And so what my dad would do was then he would use the power of shame and mockery and inform the people behind us that my son is a great athlete, apparently, except when it comes to golf. And then, as a result of the power of shame, then I would hit the absolute cover off the fucking ball and like throw my club at my old man and walk the fuck away. Like, I can't stand being humiliated. This is stupid. I hate this game. So, I could have been a great voice for golf, and instead I hate it and want to destroy it and think that all golf courses should just be neighborhoods and you should just be able to build a house on a golf course. hmm Bob said the guy doesn't even get his own ball out of the cup. Yep. No one's supposed to touch your ball but you. Yup. And in fact, it's like a penalty if someone else touches your ball. For you, not them. You're the golfer. Oh, my dad was a fucking horrible person. My dad pushed me face first down a flight of stairs, an unfinished flight of stairs. And then, when I picked myself up at the bottom of the stairs, he then beat the shit out of me with a board. And when I say beat the shit out of me, he didn't hit me in the butt with a board. He hit me in the Achilles, in the calf, in the lower leg, in the mid leg, in the upper leg, in the back, right? Not with the flat part, with the side, right? And I had bruises the fuck all over me. I went to school and told my principal, who called the police, and the police showed up, and I almost chickened out and didn't tell them what happened, but then I decided to fuck all that shit and told them what happened. Gabby said, speaking of golf, anyone watch Happy Gilmore 2? My wife and I did. Yeah, that was when I was in third grade. That was about 6 months before we left Illinois. hmm My dad was having some trouble at work. He was super stressed. He was an air traffic controller at O'Hare, and he is like super good at his fucking job. So when you work a super stressful job and you're super fucking good at your job, apparently you're also going to become a murderous psychopath who decides, the framework of corporal punishment where, bend over, I'm gonna smack you in the ass for talking bad to your mom. That shit flies as long as you're not putting me in unnecessary danger. And one of the things my dad told me, no one will ever beat you up but me. So apparently he was making me tough. I just wanted to play Flight Simulator and be an astronaut. You know what I mean? Like this motherfucker, like, what a piece of shit. Don't have, it was kind of funny. I was talking the other day. Bob said, "Was it good? Happy Gilmore 2." Okay, so here's the thing about Adam Sandler that you have to understand. Adam Sandler is not, in my eyes, he's not funny to everybody. He, Adam Sandler, is an acquired taste. I'm not saying that. I love Adam Sandler. Okay? I'm saying, like, to other people, he is a hard watch. Yeah, like Hayah said, I never really cared for the first Happy Gilmore, right? I think if how do I say that and kindly? Like if Adam Gilmore's films, if they're not agreeable with you, if you didn't find fuck 51st States funny, Lil Nicky, if you didn't find those shits funny, it's like you didn't find any of that shit funny. It's just the thing. But I did. I grew up on Adam Sandler. I think he's fucking hilarious. Um, he plays basketball. See, if you play basketball, I automatically fuck with you unless you're a prick. By the way, speaking of total pricks, did you know Leonardo DiCaprio is lined up with an investment group to build a resort in Gaza? Wedding singer, 51st dates. I'm telling you, if those are your style of humor, then yeah, it's good. Jesus. It's okay, Hayat. You've got Hayat. It's clear to me you have a half-ass sense of humor. Har har. You named four movies and you liked two and disliked two, and I said you've got a half-ass sense of humor. Come on, that was but tis. Dina said, "I'm gonna go see Adam Sandler in October." Oh, that's fun. So here, this will be fun. The guy who wrote Project 2025 is going to challenge Lindsey Graham. Just remember, when your royal enemy, your enemies become your friends. Who else? Yeah, you know why this shit? You know why this shit isn't coming out? Cause look who else might be implicated here. Here's fucking Ron DeSantis potentially. Hmm. 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 Here's Ron DeSantis. Hmm. Potentially being implicated by the president. Now, obviously, Don has the propensity to sling shit, right? He's like if your dog shit on your one of those sprinkler systems, you know the ones that go bzzz, you know what I'm talking about? It's like some a dog shit on that, and it's just like flinging shit everywhere. Anyway, it was a really bad example, but you get what I'm talking about. Yeah, Graham's gonna get challenged by the guy that wrote Project 2025, so he's gonna well, God, these people are the worst. Hey, y'all have got to start getting politically involved here and become politicians. And I'm literally telling you what to do. They are setting themselves up for failure by running it back with more of the same. If the Democratic Party and the Republican Party aren't hell bent on a youth movement, you're doing it fucking wrong. hmm Al asked, let's say the files do finally come out. Trump is implicated. Can he be prosecuted while he's in office? From what I understand, he only has immunity for presidential acts. And last I checked, he didn't commit any of them acts in office. At least I fucking hope he didn't. One. And two, we're talking about shit that happened well before he was in office. There is no um, statute of limitations on violent crime. And they're all state crimes, as far as I'm concerned. he has immunity for official acts, and he has a complicit DOJ and Supreme Court. He doesn't have immunity. There's a difference. Them refusing to try him and him not being able to be tried are two different things. I just want to make sure I continue to point that out. I've said Project 2025 has them using the 25th Amendment to replace Donald Trump with JD Vance, and of course he did because JD Vance wrote Project 2025. So remember, here's the thing. When the Epstein shit came out, I saw a post on social media, and I wouldn't lie to you. I didn't just make it up. And we all know it's going to get fucking deleted off the internet. That shit's not long for the internet. Where a couple weeks ago, Donald Trump was asking his aides, should I resign over this? So, for the record, he clearly has fucking dementia and didn't think this shit was ever going to come out. Gabby said he's has immunity to all his life. Gabby. Baby, listen. That man is a marked failure. Have you ever seen the top of Kilimanjaro? Or is it K2? Or is it Everest? It's Everest. Hey, the top of Mount Everest is covered in trash. I hope this helps. Getting to the top, becoming president, doesn't undo all of his businesses collapsing. It doesn't undo the fact that he was broke, dead broke, when he was inaugurated. And that all he's done since he's got in office is try to enrich himself. Those are the facts. And I know it sucks. It sucks. But that man has paid out millions to all his victims for their silence. And every business that he's ever had fails, including bankrupting 3 casinos. So I understand what consequences look like. And I know that it feels like, man, he's just getting away with everything, and I think his life sucks. He'll never know a day of peace. No one will let him. And for good reason. And remember, he's had to do a lot of crazy shit to get to this spot. It's a far fall, Don. It's a far fall from there. But he's going to fall. Hmm. Yeah. And the thing about that is, Gabby, I've said for a long time that man's going to have a heart attack and die the moment you put him in handcuffs. Hmm. Yep. And the thing about it is, he can only die non-violently. Because if somebody martyrs him, you're going to eat Trump acolytes ad infinity. Now, you're going to eat Trump acolytes ad infinity anyway, but the difference is they're going to fucking fail and fall flat on their face, and nobody's going to fall for that shit anymore. And that was some alliteration, but it wasn't intentional. But yeah, I get it. He hasn't had immunity. It's that the consequences and the justice that he's faced, it doesn't look like what it normally looks like to people. Because most of the time, you don't have millions of dollars to save face. And that's what he's managed to do, is use his wealth to save face so that he doesn't have to face consequences for the shit he's done. Rape, right? Because think about it. None of those businesses would make it if it was out that he was a rapist. And so I think he's an example of look how fucked up his life is. Look what he had to do to get to this spot to make it look like he's Teflon Don. Look how corrupt he had to become. That's the story. All the way to the top. But like I said, Everest is covered in trash. You should have never let me find that out. I'm going to say that all the time now. Anyway, and no, I never like wanted to go. I don't see the point in climbing high mountains or walking far distances. I thought humps were stupid when I was on active duty. Listen to a little bit of Eat the Rich. Have a fantastic day. It's Tuesday, baby. It's Taco Tuesday. Yeah, his money has come with a price. Yeah, all of it. Hmm. Yep. In fact, right up until he gave all his shares of Truth Social to his kid, he actually had nothing to give his children. Isn't that fucking crazy? So again, consequences. And it's like, man, the consequences are that nothing that dude ever built lasted. None of the things that Donald Trump did stood the test of time. So this like hatred and divisiveness and this fucking drug-addled, dementia-fueled fucking nightmare that we're living in. Fortunately for Americans, we won't be having to repeat that shit because we ain't gonna let that shit happen, is what I'm assuming. So, have a good day.